Aloha, everybody. This is Tiggy Maximus with Tiggy Maximus Talks on YouTube, episode 67. I just want to get on here pretty quickly. Right now, the San Diego State versus Furman game is going on right now since March Madness Day 3 is continuing. And I just want to get on here, talk about the NCAA tournament, what's happening the first 2 days, and also give you my picks for UFC 286 today, coming from the UK. Main event of that one is Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for the welterweight championship. It's gonna be a fun matchup, exciting. Might be a chess match, and they both won one in this trilogy. So hopefully this third fight will be the capper for this exciting, thrilling trilogy. So let's see what happens. And that main event should be close to 4:30 p.m. here in San Diego. So early start time because of the UK. Um, um, Given that the UK is hosting the championship fight and the UFC card, so it gives everybody a good chance to watch it at a decent hour. So let's get into it, guys. So with UFC 286 coming from the UK, um, I've watched Leon Edwards and Kamaru Usman. Uh, Both are great fighters, and the fact that they both got a win over each other, this makes it a very exciting trilogy. If you were to ask me who I think would win this third fight, maybe the last fight for these two fighters, um, I would say Kamaru Usman will win tonight and take back his welterweight championship. Um, I think he'll go probably 3 rounds, and I have a feeling that Kamaru Usman might win by TKO. So next up, we have the co-main event, lightweight fight between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. Um, Jason Gaethje, you'll see as always like a very aggressive offensive fighter. Always like a lot of great stand up, sometimes some great grappling too. But his almost his entire like fight plan is mostly on his feet, and you'll see a lot of knockouts coming from him. Always, always in a basically a firefight on his feet, and some fighters are quick to remember that you don't always have to win on your feet and try to prove something. You try to fight smart. And some of these other fighters, when they fought Justin Gaethje, mainly Charles Oliveira, they're smart enough to try to take it down to the ground and, you know, submit Justin Gaethje, make him tap out. Um, so I'm looking at between these two fighters. I actually do like Rafael Baziev. Biziev. Um, I would say if I had to pick a winner for this co-main event, I am picking Baziev. So next up, we have a welterweight fight between Gunnar Nelson and Brian Barberena. Uh, I'm kind of excited for this fight, honestly. Um, I think Gunnar Nelson should win. Next up, ooh, I like this one. Women's flyweight division fight between Jennifer Maia and Casey O'Neill. I'm actually a big fan of Casey O'Neill, so I think she beats Jennifer Maia and will move up the ladder at flyweight. Um, Next up, we have an exciting fight at middleweight, actually. Marvin Vettori going up against Roman Dolizes. Um, Even though Vettori is favored in this one, but I have a feeling that Roman Dolizes will pull out a big victory and he will make his mark in the top five of the middleweight division. Um, Next up, we have a featured featherweight fight between Jake Shore and Makwan Amirkhani. Should be a good fight. I like this fight a lot, and I'm excited to see Jake Shore. So between the two, this might be a fight that might go a few rounds. I'm picking Jake Shore to win. Next up, we have a lightweight fight between Chris Duncan and Omar Morales. Uh, this could be a coin flip. Um, I'm picking Chris Duncan to win this one. Next up, we have a lightweight fight between Sam Patterson and Yanal Maz. Ashmaz. Um, Should be a good fight. I mean, Sam Patterson is 10-1 and 1, and Yanal is 6-0. But I am going to be picking Sam Patterson to win this one. Oh, this one's going to be a pretty fun fight. We have a flyweight fight between newcomers, or not newcomer, but like Mohammed Makaev. I think this might have been quite possibly his second UFC fight, if I'm not mistaken. He's undefeated, 9-0, going up against Jafel Filo. Um, I'm a big fan of Makaev, so I'm picking Makaev to win that one. What else? Let's see. Um, let's see. Who else? Um, Next is a lightweight fight between Jai Herbert and Ludovic Klein. Um, I would say Jai Herbert win this one. And then we got a women's flyweight fight between Joanne Wood going up against Luana Carolina. Um, I've seen Joanne Wood fight, and I think she's gonna win over Carolina. Um, Another fight we have on the card is a flyweight fight between Jack Haley and Malcolm Gordon. Uh, I'm picking Jack Haley to win that one. Next up, we have a fight between a middleweight fight between Christian Duncan and Dusko Todorovic. That one might be an explosive fight. I I may have seen Todorovic fight, but you know, I think Christian Duncan is gonna win this one. Uh, Next up, we have a featherweight fight between Lerone Murphy and Gabriel Santos. Um, this should be a good fight. Both guys are undefeated. Lerone Murphy is 11-0-1. Gabriel Santos is 10-0. I'm picking Gabriel Santos to win this one. I just got a feeling. And then the first fight to open the UFC 286 card, women's flyweight fight between Juliana Miller and Veronica Hardy. I'm picking Juliana Miller to win this one. So there you have it, guys. Those are my picks for UFC 286. Um, I just also want to mention um, March Madness just started on Thursday. Day 1 and 2 are over now, and we're starting with day 3. SDSU is playing Furman right now, and right now it's a close game between Furman and SDSU. Furman's up 16-15 on SDSU. So it should be a pretty exciting game. Might be going down to the wire. But yeah, to cap the whole thing off, guess what happened? A number 1 seed fell to a number 16 seed again. Second time ever a 16 beats a number 1. And guess what? Fairleigh Dickinson defeated Purdue 63-58. I had to pay close attention because the score was getting super close throughout the game, and it got into the final minutes, and wow, Fairleigh Dickinson pulled it off. Was it Fairleigh or Fairleigh? Fairleigh Dickinson, yeah. Um, so I can't believe I saw that again, and can't wait to see how far Fairleigh Dickinson will go here in the tournament. Another big one to mention is 15 seeded Princeton beat number 2 Arizona, and I had Arizona in the Final Four. Could you believe that? Another one was a big one was number 13 Furman beat number 4 Virginia. That was a big shocker. That was off of a buzzer beater actually too, I guess, or a late 3 with like a few seconds left. So I really had SDSU playing Virginia playing right now, but instead it's Furman and SDSU. So with this game between SDSU, who actually beat College of Charleston 63-57, SDSU was able to pull out eke out a victory. I'm glad. So whoever wins SDSU and Furman, SDSU is number 5 seed, Furman is number 13. Whoever wins will most likely face number 1 Alabama, who's playing later today. Alabama is playing number 8 Maryland, I believe. So some things to watch. I can't believe it. A 15 seed, a 16 seed, and a 13 seed. Who would have thunk it? Anywho, oh yeah, Duke also won pretty easily. I think they won by 23 or 25 points over Oral Roberts in the 5-12 matchup. So later today, Duke is facing number 4 Tennessee. Should be a fun one around 11:40 or so. So I'll catch that game later today. But yeah, the other 3 number 1 seeds actually did make it. Kansas handled Howard. Houston, won by 11 in their matchup with their number 1 in their 1-16 matchup. It's kind of interesting how Houston has been in the top 5 almost the whole year, and I still feel a little shaky because like Houston, I guess they have a lot of great players that could be NBA ready, but the fact that Houston, I mean, they've kind of moved into the, I believe it's the Atlantic 11, yeah. It's the American Athletic Conference. Yeah, ACC. No, AAC. Yeah. So, I mean, Houston, I guess technically they're in a conference that's not technically a power conference, but they're one of the top 6 conferences, I guess. So yeah, Houston, not exactly a dominant top five team, but they're winning games. So, I mean, if you catch them on a bad day, there's a good chance that you could beat them. And then, see, yeah, Houston won, Kansas won, and um, Alabama won. Um, and Purdue losing. Um, I guess whoever made the bet on Purdue against Hurley Dickinson, FDU, that one's gonna sting. What's interesting about Fairleigh Dickinson? They did not, they did not even win their own conference tournament. That's what's crazy because Merrimack beat FDU in the conference tournament finals. But Merrimack is in a 4-year transition period from Division Two, Division Three to Division One. Um, Interesting how that rule came into effect, and so that conference had decided to whoever was going to be the runner-up if Merrimack wins the conference tournament will be going into the tournament. So when FDU had won their semifinal game, they knew they were going to the tournament because whether or not they beat Merrimack in the final of their conference tournament, they were going in anyway. So, and FDU had to be in the playing game. So that's even made it worse on Purdue because Purdue had to play a team that had to play an extra game, much less not even win their own conference tournament in the 32nd of 32 conferences, um, 32nd rated of 32 conferences. That is a really bad conference to barely have a conference champion, much less a conference champion that didn't even win their own tournament. And they only won 4 games last season. So that makes it even worse than the UMMB thing when Virginia was number one in the country and they lost by 20 to UNMB. Was it Maryland, Baltimore County? So, dang. Um, I got to see it twice in my lifetime. So, I guess, if you're having a bad day, you don't shoot well, the other team is on fire, it's going to happen, right? So, um, what else? Let's see. You got UCLA, number 2 seed. They survived. They made it to the next round. Marquette as number 2 seed. They also made it to the next round. Just too bad about Arizona. I mean, I do have UCLA either go to the Final Four or to the final, but I have them losing to Duke. Um, and then who else? Um, hmm, Texas. They survived as well as the number 2 seed. Um, I think all the number 3 seeds survived. So if you're a 3 seed, kudos to you. Um, but yeah, um, 1 4 seed had lost. I think that was only Virginia. Um, I think all the 5 seeds made it to the next round actually. SDSU, Duke, Miami, Florida. Um, the 6 and 11. Uh, Arizona State was close to being TCU last night, but I watched it too. But TCU pulled out the victory at the end over Arizona State. So, um, and I think Crane beat NC State too. So I think all 6 seeds might have advanced actually. The most notable 10 seed to make it out of the first round was Penn State, and it wasn't even close. I think they destroyed Texas A&M, I think it was. So, and then the number 9 seed that I'm most excited about that actually made it and beat the number 8 seed was Florida Atlantic. Really good record, and they were down to the wire with Memphis. So I'm kind of curious how Florida Atlantic will do up against who is it? Florida Atlantic. I think they're playing Kansas. Let's see. But other than that, yeah, I think my final four was supposed to be Arizona, Duke, and then Houston and UCLA, and then no, hold up. Hmm. Let's see. Let me think about that. So you have um, it would have been Arizona because I had them beating Alabama. Um, and then I had Duke beating uh, I had Duke beating Marquette, and then um, hmm, hmm. Oh, okay. Houston beating Texas, and I had UCLA beating um, Kansas. So that was my final four: Houston, UCLA, Arizona, and Duke. Um, and you might be wondering, um, I had SDSU playing Alabama, but I think I would have Alabama beat SDSU. Um, if I'm gonna try to be, you know, think objectively about the tournament, and if I want to win a bracket group. Um, um, so I had it where, yeah, so Alabama would beat SDSU, and then I would have Arizona beat Alabama, and then I have Duke beating Arizona. So, so with my final four, with Arizona, Duke, Houston, UCLA, I think in my bracket, the one I'm most confident about, I am picking UCLA to face um, Duke. Duke beats Arizona, UCLA beats Houston, and the final would be Duke over UCLA, and Duke will be your 2023 NCAA men's basketball tournament champions. So, yeah, so hopefully my picks for the March Madness bracket will do pretty well. As of right now, I've heard that no one has a perfect bracket, so over 20 million brackets submitted, and no one has a perfect um, bracket whatsoever. So, um, one last thing. Um, I did go to a comedy show Thursday night at Mic Drop. Got to see Mark Christopher Lawrence. I've been wanting to see him for some time now. I keep missing his shows, but I finally got to see him. Uh, the show was hosted by Lisa Gilbert. I've seen her quite a bit around here in San Diego, and maybe one LA trip. And she hosted. Um, she had some stand up to start off the show, and she had maybe one new joke or two. When talking about, you know, her kids having crushes and stuff. Uh, Overall, I thought her jokes that night was 8.2. Overall, with the crowd, um, got a lot of laughs. Um, the next person that came up was the Marine of Comedy, um, Kevin Davis. First time seeing the guy. Guy was funny. He did start off by by acknowledging that there are a couple uglies in the crowd, so I don't know if that was really necessary, but it kind of led into the Santee thing, or certain counties in the United States. Um, so um, he had a lot of decent jokes, and he had some storytelling and stuff. I would say overall, I would say he was a um, 8.3 out of 10. Um, Next up was a comic named Melissa Greenberg. Um, First time seeing her as well. Um, I think what I remembered was when you're when you're telling your date right off the bat of what your flaws are, so then you're not really surprised if you go past the first date and you notice it later on. So, and then she mentioned how she was like crazy jealous. So, she she mentioned about the madhouse one time when I guess the phone was going off on during a date, and she noticed it, and so she mentioned how if the next morning, um, if you hear about a fire and a house burning down, um, the crowd will be her alibi, saying that she was here. So she was pretty funny about that. So I kind of give her an 8.4 out of 10. Um, uh, so uh, then we have our headliner, Mark Christopher Lawrence. For those of you that might remember, um, he was on Chuck, my favorite show of all time, with Ivan Shahovsky and Zach Levy. Um, yeah, um, he was a good storyteller, and he had some good jokes. One joke that kind of stood out in my mind. He was doing a show, and about 12 minutes in, there was ambulance and some cops or something, and uh, there was someone in the crowd that had medical attention, and apparently the guy was um, needed medical attention because he was on the ground, and they found out that I guess he was laughing so hard that he hurt himself. So, so I think he might have said, so imagine this, that Mark Christopher Lawrence is in jail, and the fact that if he had his show stopped because his jokes made someone injured, then when he goes into jail and he's with another cell inmate, or a guy in jail with him, and you've seen those um, the movies or in TV shows or whatever police reports or whatever like stuff you hear about what happens in jail and stuff. And so you have this other big fellow in jail who's looking you up and down and ask, "What are you in for?" And you know, being a guy, you got to be like tough. You can't be scared. And so, given the fact that he hurt someone with his jokes, you know, Mark had to stare the guy in the face and says that I'm in here because I told a joke, and then says, well, knock knock. And then everybody started laughing because, you want to hear the punchline or not. And so everybody's funny, everybody's laughing, and like, yeah, gotta talk to him for a little bit after the show. Um, I think we had an okay conversation, but there were some kind of awkward moments I had with him, I guess, or some dead space, or no real flow to our conversation. And I tried my best to talk to him, but I guess he's busy, and you know, I do my best as a fan, so it's all good. But overall, I thought that his comedy was an 8.8 out of 10. So I wouldn't mind seeing him again. Um, Guy's a funny guy, and he's very humble. So, and he mentioned to me that there's really no reunion with the Chuck cast, so that's too bad. But I had to ask in my mind for my own sake, just to see how what was it like working with them, and if he still talks to them and stuff. So apparently not. Anywho, uh, yeah. So you guys heard my picks for UFC 286. You heard what how I feel, what happened in March Madness, and what I hope happens in the NCAA tournament. And that's my review of the comedy show at Mike Drop with Mark Christopher Lawrence as your headliner. Um, I'll probably go into another couple more comedy shows. I'll tell you guys about that later, and we'll talk more about football, basketball, other sports, and maybe some food. And yeah, so tune in, guys. A lot of good stuff coming up. So have fun this weekend, guys. Be safe, and talk to you guys later. Tiggy Maximus signing off. Booyaka!